What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. We're still doing size detective stuff, preparing for an investigation I'm not sure will happen. At least not the way we typically investigate things. But I had a thought today about the therapeutic aspect of size. Because I think most fetishes are therapeutic in a ritual sort of way. But I think what size focuses on is your fear of or anxiety about the world. You can feel afraid of or anxious about tons of things, but I think all those specific fears and anxieties get categorized under a few basic fundamental fears and anxieties: fear of people, fear of power, fear of powerlessness, and then you can get a little more specific, beginning from that basic fundamental fear of people that can specify into saying the wrong thing or acting the wrong way around certain people and being punished for it. And then that can specify even further into specific people or situations. And I think day to day, you are thinking most about these most specific fears because they're most present, they are the most formed, and then you are vaguely aware of those mid level fears, but then you don't think often about the basic fundamental primal fears because they are the most formless, the most unspecific or non-specific. Yet they're the ones that control your life because those formless fears are the ones that manifest themselves into the forms around you. And that's usually for good reason. And I think what you're doing when you're engaging with a fetish is confronting those primal fears, those formless fears, in as formed a way as you can make them. You can't process these huge fears in the specifics of your day to day, so you give them shape through your interests and then process them sexually and safely. People often talk about feeling guilty or ashamed when they blow a load, and I was thinking about that too. I think that has a lot to do with how base and awful normal pornography is. I don't look at normal pornography pretty much ever. I don't have a reason to. And if you don't have a reason to either, I recommend you take a look sometime because the guilt and shame begin to make a lot of sense. Whereas if you're using your sexuality for ritualistic purpose, and not just for blowing loads here, this could be magic too, or for therapeutic purposes, you begin to feel a lot better, even if what you are getting off on is pretty heinous, at least by typical standards. So, what are some ways size is therapeutic? At least from the shrunken man perspective. And we'll work on gathering more of the normal or larger woman perspective. But that is not as easy as you'd think it might be. I mean, that's part of why we're doing these videos at all. It really is some great Gatsby shit. Some great Gatsby shit. If you show up at a size socialite woman's door as a literally who, talking about investigations and ritual, and most importantly, conducting, or the idea of conducting these things on your terms, you get surprisingly negative reactions to that. So, because women are fascinated with men's sexuality, which is funny because men are fascinated with women's sexuality too, but it is strictly, or usually, strictly in relation to our sexuality. The goal is to begin broadcasting to freaks that a freak investigation is going on. Because I think size women are grappling with the same feelings size men are, but they're going about it in a different way. And then, of course, auxiliary, it will be useful to know what's going on in larger men's heads and in smaller women's heads. But we'll get there. We are conducting a guerrilla investigation this time. This is not the way I normally like doing things, but given the circumstances, what options do you have? Reddit is the Seattle of the internet. 4chan is the Birmingham of the internet, or perhaps the Tel Aviv. There aren't many good congregating places for size people. Oh, and do you ever have those moments you realize you aren't a human being, or you aren't an ego, you're an awareness witnessing an ego? I just had one of those moments. Those are always like a lightning bolt in your system. I'm dressed like a European today. We are in a state and a half. Anyway, size therapy. I downloaded the minimum project, which is, I was watching videos. YouTube is a really interesting place to look up fetish stuff. Because most of the time, which is where we're posting this, because most of the time it is either lame or weird, but you do occasionally find gems. The Minimum Project was one. I didn't even know that game existed. You can download it for free, search it, get the most recent version. So far, it is the most accurate or with it piece of size media, or at least game, I've encountered so far. You know something is good when you start shaking and it becomes the elephant in your room. I didn't last 15 minutes playing it, and it was so impactful. For the last few days, I have been afraid of turning it back on. That's how well it gets it, and I've made it through only 3 scenes so far. But they're all therapeutic, and they speak to what I'm talking about with this layers of fear thing. You play as a short, wimpy dude who is accustomed to being pushed around by people in normal circumstances, and the size stuff kicks off pretty quick. And you know it gets it, the game gets it, when it starts playing. I've never played Earthbound, I've watched videos about it. I don't remember I don't remember the end boss character. My brain wants to call him Primus, but I'm pretty sure that's not what his name is. The music. You know the game gets it when it's using that sort of music in its size scenarios. It's horror. You are coming from a place of fear. And immediately when the size stuff kicks off, your pal, the science club president, goes from being this kinda quirky, absent-minded but well-meaning person into a mind break that breaks your mind by existing. In other words, the disparity between your sizes and powers now is on its own a reality hammer that you've been hit in the head with. In those levels of fear, you went in one moment from the specifics of feeling afraid of people who disrespect you and push you around to the primal fear of what another sentience would do to you if it had total control over you or power over you. And that reflects in the first interaction you have with this person. Someone you're supposed to be on good terms with. Someone who previously didn't seem malicious at all, maybe absent-minded but not malicious, straight into threatening malice from her because she can. What are you going to do about it? At a normal size, a malicious person might hesitate to push you too far or in the wrong way. Not even because you might do anything retaliatory, but because the systems of society would retaliate on your behalf. But when you remove all that, even the possibility of retaliation, because you can't do anything, and at your size, nobody will know or believe that you died in the way you did, a sentience will mistreat another sentience. And that's at worst. You could say at best, maybe this larger sentience or more powerful sentience would act with good intentions, but the point is you have no say in it. Or you have say only insofar as you are permitted to have say, for as long as you're permitted to have say. And frankly, in situations like these in real life, most people will default to casual malice. Casual to them, intense to you. And that is how I feel all the time. I think that's why my anger works the way it does. I might not feel basically helpless around an individual, but I do anyway, because I feel, or I am, you are basically helpless against the larger sentience that is society. And that feeling gets more intense when you've been shown, sometimes painfully, reasons not to trust in other sentience's good natures. That is what you're doing every day. You are existing around a Giga sentience that can and will smear you across the ground if it sees you and feels like it, and just because it feels like it, and maybe not even then, maybe accidentally, becoming a statistic. Becoming a statistic is one of the most painful and terrifying and scarring things that can happen to you in life. So, to see someone singularly embody this abstract fear, as real as it is, and then immediately to disrespect you and threaten you the moment they are 100% able to, it gets your heart beating quickly. Because you are looking at your fear manifested. You are abruptly and presently shown you have no power. And it's like agents in the Matrix. This disempowering force can come from anyone at any time, because even if they act like they aren't, they are part of this outside system that threatens you. And even someone you think you're safe around or are on good terms with, you're safe around, quotes, safe around them, and quotes, on good terms with them, only insofar as you can make them be, or boundary establish them to be. When you are threat level nothing, the people you think you're closest with become agents. Everything you comforted yourself with believing, or by believing, it was all a lie, held up on foundations of your capability, and once your capability is gone, they will treat you exactly the way they've always wanted to treat you, or exactly the worst way they can treat you, especially you, because this is the way they want to treat everybody, but you are the one they actually can vent this evil on. And I think this works sexually because you are building tension. Sexuality is narrative. You are building towards something. Now, most stories don't climax in under 15 minutes, and not even in some major scene, just in some throwaway dialogue. It feels like what you're doing is being engulfed by your fear in as pure a way that fear can. And once you climax, once you shoot ropes everywhere, you've beaten it. The tension goes away, you're no longer afraid, there's not anything to build toward. You feel a lot better, and you're okay. And I have to wonder, realizing this now, if that isn't some kind of dominance thing. In a twisted up way, you are sexually conquering your fear. Or maybe it's more of a coexistence thing. confronting it and realizing you can live with it, or you have to live with it. And then there are other scenes that are very good. I've gotten through only 2 more scenes. As I said, I didn't last very long playing this game. The second one is more of a, or less of a society power dynamics thing and more of a nature helplessness thing, which is great also. There are worlds within this shit. The third one is what got me. There is an element of the careless malice or beneath notice thing going on there, but that's only one route. The one that got me was back into the society thing. I am helplessly attracted to aggressive alt women. And with this delinquent thug woman, you are enslaved immediately. And the way it plays out is what got me. If I'm remembering correctly, you start by asking for help. Bad idea, all situations. And she says something along the lines of, she doesn't recognize you, so if you were to be a normal human being in the past ever, she can't prove it, so she can only assume you're supposed to be this size, and therefore she doesn't need to treat you like a human being. Fair game for casual coercion. And there's something about that logic that speaks to me. Well, it speaks directly to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. The way people will treat you, the way they can treat you. Except here, it's stated honestly instead of acted out or implied. And I love honesty. There is something so purifying about it. Honest cruelty is a lot better than dishonest cruelty to me. So while this woman is threatening to kill you with the same level of seriousness as she would throw something away, not even close to a big deal to her, your entire life to you, my heart is fluttering, I'm in love, and then violent load escape edge. No scene, no nudity, not even any grotesqueries, just an honest appraisal and taking advantage of your situation. And I felt better. One session with this game was therapy. Because in this 10 or 12 minutes, you've been confronted with 2 of your primal fears, and one of them in 2 different ways. Oh, and with that second one, the other part of that, the fact you need to do things and act a certain way, and having your identity both acknowledged truthfully and also imposed on you, an elimination of anything you thought you were, at risk of mortal violence. That's what day-to-day life is like. Wow, it's so good. And then they freed you of your fears. They rubbed your terrors up on you until you were able to release yourself from them. And I'm not getting the soul math right here, using all the right words, explaining it perfectly. To simplify it, what you've done is engaged with your deepest fears in a way that didn't end in your destruction. Which, even though it isn't a win for you, the fact you managed to confront them or were confronted with them and weren't annihilated is a win for you. That's one of the reasons lots of roleplay stinks. You know, we are here to accomplish something. And lots of people are not here to accomplish something. One of the Discord members was talking about the popularization and dilution of S&M. And I don't think we'll ever see that in size, because size is in an interesting place. It's niche enough, people outside it probably won't feel driven to engage with it, because it's mostly mental. But it's also widespread enough, and I think it's widespread enough, especially in the internet age. It seems like the statistics for size go up every year because of this world we live in. I talked earlier about the Giga sentience that is society. You are living around a giant every day that could kill you intentionally or unintentionally with your having no say in it. I think that's why it's becoming so widespread. Anyway, it's already popular-ish. I don't think we'll get many tourists here. The only issue is because size is so mental, and I think because it runs so deep, not engaging on those more ritualistic levels feels like sacrilege. And lots of fuckers out here are sacrilegious. This is not just about coming. Or, I mean, it is, but that is nothing without all of the scaffolding and infrastructure around it. That's like watching people play in the mud with nuclear codes. But anyway, I think we'll cut it here. Size is therapeutic, and guerrilla investigations are underway until we can build up the ability to run a proper investigation directly with a group of people. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.